Talk UK, Pro Beez once again. Post fight camp is over, but I needed to get some perspective from across the big pond once again from Counterpunch Boxing News. The man himself, Kurt Deville. Brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I am doing great. Like I said, I'm kind of starched, kind of drained. Had one hell of a day or night for you guys of boxing.
Hey, we're going to get to that. So before fight camp started a month ago, Eddie Hearn was selling this as boxing's messiah, boxing saving post COVID-19, post the lockdown. Many would say now that Eddie Hearn was right. It delivered 50-50 fights, exciting fights, questionable decisions, knockouts, upsets. Wow. Boxing is back, baby. Officially.
It is. Officially. With a dynamic KO. 5 rounds. Main event. You want to start at the beginning or we can start at the end?
I'll tell you what. Okay. So we'll talk about the shock that ensued. 5th round knockout by Alexander Sasha Povetkin of Dillian Whyte. I must admit, I wasn't expecting that, especially with the way that Dillian had started putting down Povetkin twice. What's your reaction to this result?
Well, I was shocked, but I was still waiting to see a question that I had for Povetkin, or rather for Whyte. What will happen when he gets caught flush with an uppercut? If you look at my fight study, I kept telling people, Dillian Whyte's kryptonite is an uppercut. If he can't, we have to see what he does. He was knocked out by Joshua almost the same way. He was dropped by Rivas, uppercut. Okay, now the 3rd time's a charm. Now he gets knocked out cold by Alexander Povetkin. And we know Povetkin is a good inside puncher, and he knows that's one of his weapons is the uppercut. So I wanted to see how he's going to react to it. We saw how he reacts to the left hook. The left hook put Povetkin down. That first right, he threw 2 rights, landed 2 rights, followed with the left hook. He felt the power. Down goes Povetkin. But he knows what that left hook was about. But Whyte did not know about that uppercut at all. So it was a tough. I feel bad for Whyte though.
No, 100%, especially in lieu of the fact that the WBC reaffirmed the message that he will fight the winner of Wilder and Tyson Fury, and the man has waited for so long, 1,000+ days. I believe it was the anniversary. It was actually on social media, the anniversary of the 1,000 days, and this has happened. And it's difficult because Dillian Whyte he's done things the hard way. He had the upset against Anthony Joshua, and had to literally rebuild his career. Take on guy after guy, put on performances. Pick up fans along the way, turn the non-believers into believers, and then it's like he's gone to the world another time. And this time, unfortunately, it didn't come up. He didn't come up trumps. But wow, I'm still shocked myself. I think, especially after the start by Dillian Whyte. I think many would say that he was in control up until that uppercut.
Yep, that's his punch. That's his weak spot, the uppercut. Dillian Whyte. He looked old. Povetkin looked older. He looked older. He looked like he was on his way out. And it's one of those things. You're always one punch away. That shows, and that should give people motivation. When you're getting beat every round, keep fighting one more round. And that's exactly what happened. Povetkin landed that shot. And it was almost like a button was pressed for Whyte. He went instantly out. There was no counting. There was no, struggle. He was gone, just from that one punch. And it looked like a Mike Tyson-esque type uppercut. He weaved and just threw it, and it was there. He threw a lazy right, and I don't even know if Whyte. So I don't think Whyte saw it. Either way, it landed, and Whyte was out in it, and I was like, wow. And the first thing I said, well, I was waiting for what happens in the uppercut. When the uppercut lands, how will Whyte react? And we got our answer.
It's interesting because Alexander Povetkin, now I was privy to see him perform against Michael Hunter in Saudi Arabia on the Anthony Joshua Ruiz rematch undercard. And I must admit, I thought Michael Hunter was going to blast him out. In the first 3-4 rounds, Michael Hunter started like a house on fire. And I said, you know what? This is a formality. Again, today, the same mistake I made again today. I said, okay, let me go make my hot cocoa and get ready to get to bed. And I was watching the fight, but I literally kind of dozed off a little bit and thought, oh, this fight's over. And I couldn't believe I had a commentator saying, wow, Alexander Povetkin, what an uppercut. And wow. I mean, boxing really does throw up surprises and upsets. Hassan Rahman, Lennox Lewis, remember that big right hand.
Oh, yes.
Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, we remember that. So those are the two notable ones. Anthony Joshua, do you know what's funny? Because I see some parallels. Anthony Joshua Ruiz, part 1. Anthony Joshua puts down Ruiz. Then Anthony Joshua gets entangled on the inside when he's already in control. And that is sort of like, it's funny that sometimes it's a case of should you stick or should you twist? And maybe it didn't come off this time.
Well, you can't really blame Whyte because Whyte was thinking, this 40-year-old guy is on his way out. I've dropped him twice. If you notice in between the rounds, Povetkin was giving him mad respect. Now, Whyte was respecting Povetkin. He was respecting the punching power. His defense was very tight, if you noticed. But I think when he started knocking him down, the defense, he let up a bit, and that's what cost him. There's no way he should have been hit with that uppercut. But then at the end of the day, it's like, I'm finishing this job. 5 rounds, this guy's out. He only has 1 more round left legitimately anyway, due to his last performance with Hunter. He was going downhill at Hunter. That's why Hunter was able to do what he did to rally back to get a draw. Okay, because Povetkin was out of gas. He knew it. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Povetkin went 12 rounds. But all in all, I seen, okay, this guy has about 6 good rounds. If he's going to do anything, it's going to be within 6 rounds, just like the fight study and prediction. So I think Whyte, because Whyte was throwing some beautiful body shots too. He was doing everything right until he started getting successful. So I can understand your parallel, because Joshua, when he dropped Andy Ruiz, that's when he became reckless. So, Whyte, same thing. He thought, well, this guy's on his last leg. He did not expect a guy like that to hurt him like that. And you got to be mindful of certain fighters too. And this is a great reminder and the great example. Some fighters are more dangerous, or the most dangerous, when they're hurt. So I think Povetkin was hurt, but I think when you're hurt, your adrenaline is higher. It's more heightened. He threw that punch because of the experience, what Dillian Whyte was talking about. He knew instinctively, okay, he's throwing a right. Oh, he's not doing anything with that right hand. Boom. Punch was right there. Good night. Earned the check. He's the WBC Diamond heavyweight champion, whatever that means. But And he has a rematch.
I find it hard. I find it hard to actually take in. I still can't take it in. But I think if we look at the facts, obviously you've done your analysis about the uppercut. But okay, Povetkin, he fought David Price. David Price was bossing Povetkin at range.
Mm-hmm.
David Price got a bit overconfident and a little bit reckless. Povetkin dipped once again to his left side and then threw the hook. Wobbled David Price, finished David Price off.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the mass powers of recovery by this man. I mean, is it Viagra or is it a bit more than that?
You know, I just think, like I did a live stream yesterday, and it just hit me. And then Povetkin is a very dangerous man, not because of the obvious reasons. What people don't understand about Povetkin has nothing to lose.
Mm.
He has absolutely not. What does he have? What does he have to lose? He's got beat by Klitschko. He's got beaten by Anthony Joshua, reigning champions. Now he's in there with Dillian Whyte, the WBC interim champion. What does he have to lose? Again, he's been there. He was a WBA heavyweight champion. Mm. Regular. Well, there you go. He's done all he's going to do, and I think he's content. And I knew when he rocked Joshua, because he rocked Joshua. Okay, Joshua had to take a couple back steps. When he caught him with those uppercuts, he caught him with a right, then an uppercut inside, made Joshua kind of, let me reset a bit. And, Joshua said, well, no, I wouldn't hurt. Well, he definitely buckled you, so you had to regroup yourself, and he knocked you off your footing, to where you were at. Well, you seen what he did to Joshua versus what he did to White. And then you compare them. It makes me look at Joshua now in a whole different light, because he was able to take those punches in the inside. He took those punches flush, because he was able to get in the inside of the guard with a taller guy like Joshua. Povetkin's better at fighting taller men. So it played into his favor, but it's just so crazy and how fickle boxing is. So, because I'm like, I was like you. I was on the live stream, but I'm like, okay, Povetkin's not out yet. But I was looking more like, okay, White, yeah, he's going to get him out. He's going to catch him with that left hook, and that's that. Because I'm expecting, for some reason, I was expecting Povetkin to hit White with a right hand. Catch him with just something with the right, because Dillian Whyte, he likes to double and triple up on the jab, which he was doing a great job. He was keeping Povetkin back. He should have kept doing that. And I'm guaranteeing in the rematch, he's going to keep doing that. He's going to do more of that. So that's what his future is. Another fight with Povetkin.
You say that you're looking at Anthony Joshua in a different light now. Are you looking at Michael Hunter now as the next big American hype? Because Michael Hunter, to be fair, he was pretty good against Povetkin. He was. He started like a house on fire. I thought he was going to take out Povetkin. It was just that Povetkin used his experience to survive. But having said that, I'm looking at Michael Hunter now. I'm thinking, I'm looking at Usyk now, and I'm thinking, Usyk. You see where I'm going now? You see where I'm going now? I'm thinking, hold on a minute. I'm thinking the division is a lot more open than what people think it was prior to that. A lot of people were looking at the elite only, but I'm thinking a little bit outside of that now.
Of course.
What do you reckon, Kurt?
I'm with you. I agree. I think Ruiz was the one that cracked that open to give people a little insight on the possibilities of other fighters getting the opportunities to take on these elite guys. Okay? Because Dillian Whyte was number 2? He's number 2, heavyweight?
By the Ring Magazine, yeah.
Ring Magazine. So what do you think he's at now? You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it just, look, everyone has to fight each other because we won't know until that happens. That's why, people say, certain fighters, they say, I don't have to prove anything. I'm this or I'm that. No, you have to continue to prove yourself each and every time you step into the ring. It's simple because we won't never know until it happens. I mean, how many people thought that Povetkin was going to win today? Let's be honest. Okay, what was the numbers on it?
Percentage-wise, he probably had 5% in his favor. 5 to 10%.
Yeah.
But heavyweight boxing. This is heavyweight boxing, baby. Shocks do happen. On the basis of Tyson Fury, how would Tyson Fury have dealt with Povetkin? Do you think he would have just boxed his head off at range?
He would have done that. If he's smart, which he is, he would have done that. And I think he would have. Because Povetkin, he would have to fight himself in the inside, and he'd probably tire himself out with Fury. Fury would use the ring.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, why would he risk exchanging? And his corner Dillian Whyte's corner told him, don't worry about exchanging with this guy this early. I don't know if you heard that, but it was one of those things. And I was like, great instruction by the corner of Whyte, because that's something you don't want to do with Povetkin, especially this early on. So now Povetkin comes in with a whole new sense of confidence because he knows, hey, I've done it before. I can do it again. Okay. But I want Whyte to get the rematch because, see, if someone else fights Povetkin, it's one of those situations where you never know, because it's an old saying in boxing with an older fighter. You never know, because it's dangerous fighting an older fighter because you don't know what they have left. You don't know. They may have 1 to 2 good fights left in them. Then after that, they're pretty much mopped up and, journeyman or whatever and just fighting for a check. But if they were on a certain level, there's always a possibility of them having 1 to 2 good fights left. And this was one of them. It doesn't even, in heavyweight boxing, it doesn't even have to be a full round. It wasn't a full round. It was a moment in round 5. One moment. That's all it took. One mistake. Left instead of right. Draw your conclusion. And we saw it. So it's one of those things. Again, it goes back to Povetkin. He has nothing to lose. He stayed in there. He got that punch, and it changed everything. And if you notice, Dillian Whyte, he was upset. We haven't heard anything from him. No interviews. We heard Eddie Hearn out there, which, Eddie's in a good position because he has everyone. He has everyone over there. So, but you can't help, and I know, and you can see in the eyes of Eddie that he was just as shocked as everybody else. You've seen little close-ups of Joshua. He was shocked too. And I was looking at Joshua, I'm like, And I'm thinking what he's thinking. You probably hate that you were right because Joshua called it. Like, this was a dangerous fight for him, And it's one of those things where, yeah, I expected that, but I really didn't want it to happen, But, yeah, it's tough breaks for Whyte because now it gives excuses for everything else to come into place because Dillian Whyte was such the resistance of boxing, of heavyweight boxing. He was the guy that, okay, I'll fight him. I'll do this. I'll do that. He
was a can man.
He was a can man. And you know what? He's still the can man. So let's look at it this way. If he's able to knock out Povetkin, which I think he can, because he was on his way to doing, I think that he'll be the guy that he either knocks you out or you're going to knock him out. I mean, both of his losses were from knockouts, right? So, and he's had some pretty we'll look at it last year, though. Look at the Oscar Rivas fight. I mean, Rivas caught him in the 9th round. So he went down, and I'm like, oh, because when that happened, that's what made me a believer. Okay, this guy can't take uppercuts. That's the punch that's going to gonna do it for him if it's gonna be any punch. We've seen the Chisora fight 23 rounds of him going toe to toe with this hard hitting guy. Chisora, he got hit all up in the noggin, the dome. He was taking blow for blow. But one thing that Chisora didn't really hit him with were uppercuts. The uppercuts, that's the punch. So he has to really be cautious of that. If not, that's going to be the thing that gets him out of there.
Just, do you think all the talk of Tyson Fury, the mandatory position for next year, do you think that was distracting ahead of this fight?
Of course it was. Of course it was. You know, do you think, well, here's another question. Do you think the Mauricio statement that he won't fight Whyte right away, you think that was strategic? You think that was coincidental? You know, why would you say that now when a guy's coming up to fight a tough fighter? You know, so it's one of those things, and it just makes you, I think of so many different other fights now. I think of Wilder and Povetkin. How would that really have played out if those guys would have fought, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, because he was traveling to Russia. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the failed drugs test, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of things like that, you know, but unfortunately, by default, this makes Joshua's resume that much better. And then you got to respect Joshua for doing what he's done against very few people were able to do, you know, him and Vlad. So if Whyte would have won, he would have shared it with those guys, Vlad, Joshua, then himself. But he couldn't. So Povetkin proved where he was at. And so when you beat a guy, and this is my belief when you're fighting, when you beat a guy and that guy comes and he wins every fight after that, that makes you look better because no one else is able to do what you've done. No one couldn't duplicate what you've done. You and another fighter, and you've beat that fighter, which was Vlad, you know, it looks very good. Now, let's say Povetkin he did have a draw. So that kind of made you look at him kind of differently. Well, maybe Povetkin has fell off a bit. But again, Whyte, number 2, and he was like number 4 before Wilder got beat. Okay. Well, now look at him, Povetkin. And I wonder what doors will open up for Povetkin now. You know, if any, besides the rematch. So it makes you think.
And you know what? I'm going to throw another curveball in. And Roy Jones Jr. is only seven years older. So
yeah.
Where we going? Where we going?
Yeah. You know, and hey, Oscar De La Hoya, he's coming back, and he looks really good. I was surprised to see the speed still there because I've seen some clips of Oscar De La Hoya, and he's 47. Yeah, it's very interesting to see what's going to happen now. But
yeah, Kurt, just obviously look, we've seen Joshua have a blip, we've seen Dillian Whyte have a blip, we've seen Wilder have a blip. Now, all before their blips, there were moments that people say there were flashes of vulnerability. All right.
Right.
Tyson Fury against Otto Wallin. A lot of props are given to the cut man of Tyson Fury in that fight.
Right.
Because a lot of people say otherwise, Tyson Fury would have lost that fight. So are we looking at, on the basis of that fight, even though Tyson Fury went on to defeat Wilder in emphatic fashion, that the next surprise, the merry-go-round, is
right
that way? Could that be where we're headed?
It wouldn't surprise me at this point, brother. I mean, why would it? Because everyone has to get it. Everyone's gonna get it. Mayweather's over. Not everyone can be like Mayweather. People want to duplicate it. You know, Wilder wanted to be that next Mayweather. I've never been beat, never been defeated. I'm the best. I'm this, I'm that. He got his. Joshua, he got his. Tyson Fury, since he's been fighting consistently since 2018, he may get it too. So it won't surprise me. Not saying I wish he gets it, but it won't surprise me at all if he does. And it might be coming.
Wow, it's I don't know. I don't know if it's the African voodoo that's in the air, but we'll have to wait and see. So we've got to talk about also as well on the card, the long-awaited rematch between Katie Taylor and Delphine Bassoon. Now, on Twitter, people have questioned the scoring. That this scoring issue that we're having in boxing seems to have reared its ugly head again. I mean, how did you see the fight with Katie Taylor and Delphine Bassoon for all the marbles?
I think the rematch, it wasn't scored right. Okay, I know Katie Taylor, she composed herself. She tried to box smart. She tried to create distance between her and this tough, bigger, taller fighter. Muscles from Brussels Part 2. But I seen that unanimous decision that let me know. I think this was a house fight. And I think that if Katie Taylor was going to win it, it would have been a lot closer than that. You know what I mean? A lot closer than that. You know, and because she took a lot of punches that she was trying to elude from this fighter. And this fighter wouldn't let her elude, wouldn't give her that respect. She just came at her with punches. They weren't pretty punches. They were just punches they were throwing. It was like some controlled chaos coming from
Bassoon,
yeah. So was it Sir? What's her name?
Delphine Bassoon, yeah.
Bassoon, yeah. Bassoon was like a fighter that she fought. She stayed the same. Katie did make some adjustments. She caught her with some clean shots. But one thing I was really curious to see was the punches that landed versus the punches that were thrown. I really want to know what that was because I feel that Bassoon landed a lot more punches than Katie. Katie landed some good shots when she could because she was getting smothered. What Bassoon was doing, she was fighting like a Marcos Maidana or almost like a Sean Porter. It was a busy type style, and she didn't let Katie breathe. When Katie got that knot on her head, I'm like, okay, there's where the drama is. Okay, there's the facial recognition. And I think maybe the judges looked at that left hook, that scar. It was like this red blush, and she looked bad. But she has the Arturo Gatti skin. I'm sorry. That doesn't mean that she was all that hurt. That means her skin doesn't hold up when she gets punched with that leather. You know, she looked bad. Her nose was broken, this and that. Katie was hitting her. But I think Katie received a lot of punches as well. And I think it should have been a lot closer than that. A lot closer. I would have been okay with a draw in that fight. You know, but even the first fight wasn't a draw. You know, so right away I was like, okay, who's the hometown fighter? You know, that's why we had a draw, because the hometown fighter really didn't win. So to save face, okay, let's just rule it a draw. You know, and I think that could have been applied to that Katie, I forget her name already.
Bassoon?
Bassoon fight, part 2. Because the first fight was lit. And, you know, there was blood, there was sacrifice. You know, and Katie Taylor, she's a good fighter and everything. And then if you notice in the press conference, she was like, are you going to hear a third fight? She's like, look, give me a break. You know what I mean? She's going to be a hard fight for anyone. But at the end of the day, you didn't really have an argument from Bassoon. She was like, hey, you know, I'm okay with that. You know, she's a good fighter. And I think that's going to be one of them situations where Bassoon is going to have to knock out Katie Taylor like Manny Pacquiao and Juan Manuel Marquez to get that fight. If they fight again, it's going to be the same way. It's going to be another hard fight. You know, it's a numbers thing. Maybe in the fourth fight, they fight 4 times or so.
Trilogy.
Right.
You can see the Canelo and Triple G women's version, right?
That could be that, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, especially with the styles. Yeah, I could go for that.
yeah, because do
Definitely.
you know what it is, Kurt? Right, I kind of look at Katie Taylor in a similar vein to Loma. Loma, we do know that before he moved up, you know, he was wiping out guys, no mass, no mass, right?
Right.
But you see, he's moved up in weight, and the fighters are bigger. So you hit them, and they keep coming. They keep coming. You can have mass skills, but it's a lot more difficult. So I'm looking at it like, wow, okay, she's at lightweight now, and you've got bassoons who walk you down and cut the ring off and try and
Right.
take your head off also as well. So she's also now facing bigger problems, literally bigger problems, moving up a weight class. Loma,
Right.
same problem. These guys at lightweight, they can pack, they can bang also as well. So it's yeah, skills do pay the bills, but
Right.
again as well, you know, I think planning out the fights correctly and the matching has to be done immaculately to make sure that, you know, these Loma and Katie Taylor remain champions for a long while yet.
Right. Right. Yeah, you know, Katie, she's accomplished. She has all the belts. She's undisputed. You know, she didn't have to give the girl a rematch. She didn't have to, but I mean, it was expected. So she knows the competitive demand for that fight. So it's not necessarily this decision. It was the fact that those judges, they didn't score it the right way. So you got to ask yourself, what were they looking at? What were they viewing? Were they looking at the face of Persoon, the appearance of Persoon? What were they? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people look at certain things like, oh God, that looks terrible. She possibly couldn't be the winner because of her face. She looked like Rocky Balboa's sister. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It just, the scorecards didn't sit well with me. It didn't. But, you know, again, you didn't have argument by Persoon. She was happy. You know, she was feeling her nose and it looked broke. You know, she's going to need a lot of recovery. So that also says a lot from Katie Taylor, you know. But yeah, it was a very good fight. Very good fight. I want to see it again.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah, like you said, Canelo, Triple G. A lot of people want to see that fight. I think honestly, Triple G is getting too old though. He's like 37, 38.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no, do you know what? Look, post lockdown, COVID-19 and all, it's good to have boxing back. Okay, yeah, the fans are not there yet, but we've had some debates, and there's the arguments that we used to have about who won what round and who won a fight. And long may it continue. We're going to see Errol Spence Jr. against Danny Garcia. And I think there's some question marks in that fight as well for Errol Spence Jr. because obviously that was no joke, that accident. But I'm sure as time goes on, you know, we're going to get into that when time goes on. But Kurt, it's been a pleasure once more, man. It's hella late out here, man. I got to get some shut eye, man. I had 2 sessions at the gym today, man. So,
I got you. No problem.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time, Kurt. And
all right.
Remember, subscribe to Counterpunch Boxing News. Subscribe to Pep Talk UK, USA, UK. It's like a gin and tonic. That concoction, baby.
There you go. I like the combination, man.
Kurt, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for your time, man.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Peace.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.